sequence. Subject: international rescue.
Now we're sitting on the biggest bomb man's ever made.
Alert the World Aquanaut Security Patrol.
Sam Luton from John 90. Airborne, over.
Interceptors, immediate launch.
Captain Scarlet is now indestructible.
September 13th, 1999.
Hello, I'm Jack.
And I'm Catherine.
And welcome back to Operation Anderthon.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, Catherine?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jack?
I'm alright. What have you been up to today?
I made some cheddar jalapeno bread and took a nap.
In preparation for what we're about to do.
And we're doing this, so that's cool.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, this is the podcast where I make my wife watch a different first episode from a different Jerry Anderson show every week. That was really badly explained, but there we are. Words. Hello. So, we're kind of getting towards the end now.
7 more.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that you've now had the option of choosing every single show that's in the jar. I think each one has come up at least once. There are many that have come up multiple times. But
We'll see what comes up this week.
We'll see what comes up this week. So, Catherine, go ahead, pick up the jar, give it a good rattle around, shake up those options, shake up those lifelines. Thunderbird 4 and Thunderbird 5 are still in there. And we're just going to see which 3 options are available for the watching today. I'm just trying to keep it going while Catherine tries to get in the jar. Everything's stuck at the bottom now, so it's slightly harder to get to. All right, here we go.
First selection is Space 1999 Year 2, The Metamorph. That's come up so many times.
Several times this week. Oh, not this week. Recently.
The Protectors, 2,000 Feet to Die from 1972.
Okay.
And the final choice is Dick Spanner P.I., The Case of the Human Cannonball.
Ooh. That's cool. That's a mixture of things. What are you going to choose?
There was something I was sort of hoping for, so I think we're going to go ahead and use Thunderbird 4 Lifeline. I believe I get to choose a 4th option.
You do,
correct?
yes. The Thunderbird 4 Lifeline is coming out.
There it is.
There we go. Played it. Yeah.
Okay, and I've selected another.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't know. Nope, I didn't get it. But it's Joe 90, The Most Special Agent from 1968.
Okay. What are you going to watch?
Ooh.
Out of those four options. None of which you seem that enthused by for some reason. I don't know why.
There's some ones in there I know how I'm going to feel about them. So let's do... I don't know if I've ever watched this. The Protectors.
Okay, we're going to watch The Protectors this week. Something a little bit different. 2,000 Feet to Die. Okay, alright. Well, we'll catch you on the other side.
With no fantasy or science fiction elements whatsoever, The Protectors, first broadcast in 1972, was quite a departure for producer Jerry Anderson. The live-action series starred Robert Vaughn, Nari Dawn Porter, and Tony Anholt as a team of private detectives taking on missions to protect innocent individuals all over the world. Protectors Harry Rule, Contessa Caroline DeCantini, and Paul Boucher became involved in adventures ranging from kidnapping, diplomatic incidents, and the recovery of missing pets. The Protectors ran for 2 series, totaling 52 episodes. But what will Jack and Catherine think of this dramatic change of format?
So that was The Protectors.
It was.
What do you think?
I hadn't seen it before. One of the few things we're watching that I hadn't. And I thought it was pretty good.
Why do you think I've never shown it to you before?
Well, you said on the way out to watch that you never really watch it, so that's probably why I haven't seen it.
Why do you think I haven't watched it very much, then?
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, it's very different.
It is different.
Because it's not science fiction in any way, shape, or form.
No, but
really.
they're saving the... you like The Protector, so I'm surprised that you don't like this.
This is The Protectors.
No,
What do you mean?
The Investigators.
The Investigate. Well, why don't we talked about this, but yeah, I like that genre of the action, like all the ITC action adventure shows that are just about crime fighting and, crazy action sequences and stuff like that. Like, I like that stuff, but not as much as the more sci-fi stuff. So, so to give you a bit of background, basically, this isn't a Jerry Anderson idea. Lou Grade, who financed, a lot of Jerry shows, as I'm sure you know, had an idea for the Protectors, and basically said, Jerry, want you to make it. And that's kind of that's really how it came about. And obviously the format is very loose, really. It's just a group of people who do general... Well, it's supposed to be like a protection service for various people, but it kind of falls under just general crime fighting and beating up bad guys and solving plots and things like that. So it's very general, and it's in the similar vein of shows like The Saint, The Persuaders, all those shows that Lou Grade had commissioned and, were being made around about that time. So yeah, that's kind of it, really. There's not a lot to it. And it's very different from... A lot of the same people are involved. But yeah, it's just very different. So you liked it then?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, we only saw the first episode. It's only like a half an hour, so there wasn't a lot in terms of like setting up characters. Really, it was very plot driven.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe that gets better or not. Don't know. But
the thing about the Protectors is it's such a loose format that they do so many different things with it. And it was designed really to just be generic action stuff, and so the characters are sort of, they try... I mean, even in this episode, they try to do a little bit of character development with Harry Rule, like the establishment that he's got a son, but maybe doesn't see him very often.
He's like, chain set, happy face.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're introduced to the characters who really are the ones that kind of, because there aren't all the vehicles and kind of the, I mean, the Protectors are an organization of private detectives and protection people, but, that's a fairly loose format, so the characters are what kind of drive this. So we have Harry Rule, played by Robert Vaughn. Did you recognise him?
Well, yes.
Good. Catherine and I love the show Hustle, which he was in, and very good in this.
Yes.
What did you think of him in this compared to seeing him in Hustle? Obviously, there's quite a few years difference between the two, but... No,
I thought he was okay. There were some odd parts in the script that weren't his fault.
Yes.
He was fine, though. I think from what he would know about the character kind of going into it, he probably did as good a job as anyone could have done. Right.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that Jerry Anderson did not cast him. Lou Grade said, here's Robert Vaughn. You're going to work with him. Same with Nairi Dawn Porter as the Contessa. Here you go. I've cast them. Deal with it, basically. Very different from the previous, over 10 years of working relationship that Jerry Anderson and Lou Grade had, where suddenly, whereas before Lou had said, Jerry, you can basically make whatever you want and I'll buy it. This was very much, you're going to make this show. I've cast the two regulars.
But
That's
was that because Lou Grade had this idea and really wanted it to happen, or
no? I mean, Lou Grade,
he just kind of gave Jerry
Lou Grade, great
rope.
visionary as he was, was not necessarily a creative powerhouse sort of person.
Wasn't sure which way
he just had a show. He knew that type of format worked well because he made a career out of funding. Again, shows, I mean, it started with Danger Man and The Saint and The Champions and all of these shows, which are all very similar. he wanted to make more of them. In the 70s, they were very successful in the 60s, but in the 70s, things got a little bit harder to make. He had to sort of start thinking about how he could make these shows bigger and better without necessarily spending too much money. They had the luxury, and that's really kind of the main selling point of the Protectors. You don't actually see it very much in this episode, but they did a lot of location filming throughout Europe. Some of the most ambitious location filming that had been done for television at that time, really. They went all over the place, including Malta, which we saw in the Investigator when we watched that last week. And so that was kind of the keys, but of course that's kind of expensive. The way they kind of cut back on costs was they shot the thing on 16mm film. Now, that may not make much difference to you, but I will, I think this is the first, am I right in thinking this might be the first ITC series that have been shot on 16mm? Certainly the first Jerry Anderson series to be shot on 16mm. At the time, that was very much a cheaper alternative to shooting on the much higher quality, much superior 35mm film. So it was kind of, although there are lots of nice locations and that kind of thing going on, it looks slightly cheaper just because of that. Now, I don't even know whether you picked up on that or not.
I mean, to me, it just looks a bit old. So
right. Well, but there is a reason for that.
Well, this could have looked better because I don't know.
Maybe you consider a show like,
sure you could.
Considering something like Thunderbirds was shot, not that long before then, but because it was shot on 35mm, it looks so much different, and
crisper,
that's even more noticeable when you come to Terrorhawks, which was also shot on 16mm. You really see there's a difference there, and it does affect the overall appeal of the product. So yeah, but there were other shows being shot at that time, again of the same thing, where they were trying to do more location filming, but on a budget. So you had The Adventurer, again very similar lines. You've got an American star. I will say that show is much, much worse than The Protectors. That's really, really bad. But it's a similar sort of thing, really. And then you had The Persuaders, which was, again, shot on location, but it was shot on 35. So it looks so much... I'm sorry I'm being so boring talking about film stock. But, knocking the microphone. Sorry if the microphone sounds weird, by the way. I know we've been knocking it a lot in the most recent podcasts. You hear a lot of it. When I'm editing it, I hear the microphone getting knocked all the time. Very sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, but, anyway, what were we talking... Well, we were talking about casting before that.
Yeah,
we were talking about Robert Vaughn. So he was a big star. In the US, he had just finished the series, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. You familiar with that at all? There was a film made relatively recently.
Oh, is that the one your dad likes?
No, your dad likes it, I think.
He does? I've never heard of it.
I don't know. I
have heard of it,
I feel like you're... Anyway, so there's the man from U.N.C.L.E. And he was enticed to come over to England and make The Protectors. Didn't enjoy the experience very much. He doesn't really... He's passed away now, unfortunately, but he never really talked much about making The Protectors, other than he didn't like the experience of filming in England very much at all.
It's just funny, because everything I've ever seen him in has always been English.
Yeah, I guess with Hustle as well. Yeah, he came back.
He had a
much better experience with Hustle than he did with The Protectors.
That's good.
That's the difference in the way, in the 70s it was very much, again, sorry to bore you with the politics of it, but it was very much controlled by unions, and film crews would only work a certain number of hours and do jobs in a set limited way, and it was just very restrictive. And he did do an interview where he talked about just how many damn tea breaks and things like that they were taking filming, and it just he could just sense that people were not so enthusiastic about making the show. As a result, he clashed with Jerry quite badly. They didn't get on, you know, they just didn't have a very